the most important passages in the narratives of the Old Testament is the building of the temple by Solomon. This is where God's presence comes to dwell among his people in a permanent place in Jerusalem. And so the biblical text takes a lot of space with it, both in Kings and in Chronicles. And we have Solomon's dedicatory prayer, where he calls on the Lord to inhabit this place and to be among his people. After the prayer, God responds to Solomon. And in that context, we get a statement that has captured the attention and the imagination of interpreters throughout history. It's in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Again, we have to remember that this is God's response to the dedicatory prayer of Solomon. Solomon has talked about the temple being a place where people will come and pray and repent, and that they will seek God's face, and that they will seek God's healing for their land being the covenant promised land that he has given them as his people to inhabit as the benefits of the covenant. What we find then is that this is a very specific context. It's in the context of the temple and Israel and the covenant and their land. As a result, we have to be very cautious if we want to try to extend what God says there beyond the boundaries of Israel and the covenant. We are not Israel in the way that they are. We are not in a land that God has given us the way that they are. We are not praying at the temple the way they are. There are similarities, of course, and parallels that can be drawn, but it's not the same. The point is, this is a promise to Israel. We cannot take it as a promise to us, to America or any nation that you might be in. Instead of a promise that we could hold God to, we need to think of it as something that, as many other parts of the Old Testament, reveal God for who he is. God is a faithful God, faithful to his people. He's faithful to those who come and seek him, and he's responsive to them. This tells us about God, and it's the nature of God that's revealed here. It cannot be claimed as a promise. It can be understood as God's revelation of himself. Often when we try to claim promises, we're trying to force God to act in a way that we want him to, and we dare not do that. This is not a promise for us to claim, but it helps us to understand the greatness of God and his faithfulness to us.